Have you ever heard about a plane that disappeared only to reappear 37 years later? This isn't a tale from a science fiction novel, but a real-life mystery that has puzzled many for decades. Today, we delve into the enigma of Pan Am Flight 914. On a seemingly normal day in 1955, Pan Am Flight 914 took off from New York, packed with passengers and crew, all ready to land in sunny Miami. But that landing would not occur as scheduled. Instead, the plane and all its occupants vanished without a trace. No distress signals, no wreckage, no evidence of what might have happened. It was as if Flight 914 had been plucked from the sky by an invisible hand. For 37 years, the fate of the plane and its passengers remained a mystery. Then, in 1992, the unthinkable happened. Pan Am Flight 914 reappeared and landed in Miami, as if it had been on a routine flight. The passengers, the crew, the plane itself, all seemingly unaged, untouched by the passage of 37 years. Was it a time warp, a government cover-up, an elaborate hoax? The lack of concrete evidence and the bizarre nature of this event has fueled speculation and theories, but no definitive answers. This is the curious case of Pan Am Flight 914. On July 2, 1955, Pan Am Flight 914 was scheduled for a routine flight. As the sun rose that morning, passengers of Flight 914 began to arrive at the airport. The crew members, Captain Robert Richardson and co-pilot John Stewart, meticulously went through their pre-flight checks. The plane, a sleek, shining Douglas DC-4, was a beacon of modern technology and a symbol of human ingenuity. The passengers on board were a diverse group. There were businessmen off to important meetings, families heading off to vacation destinations, and individuals seeking new adventures. Each carried with them their hopes and dreams, unknowing of the peculiar fate that awaited them. As the plane taxied onto the runway, the crew members ran their final checks. The engines hummed with anticipation, the weather was clear and the skies were welcoming. It was all systems go for Flight 914. The Douglas DC-4 accelerated down the runway, lifting off smoothly into the bright morning sky. The passengers settled in, the hum of the engines a comforting sound as they embarked on their journey. Minutes into the flight, everything seemed normal. The plane was cruising at its assigned altitude, the sky was clear, and the crew was in regular contact with the air traffic control. But then, something unexpected happened. The plane's blip on the radar started to flicker, causing a wave of confusion at the control tower. Despite the frantic attempts of the air traffic controllers to establish contact, the plane didn't respond. The blip that once represented Flight 914 started to fade until it disappeared completely from the radar screen. And just like that, Pan Am Flight 914 was gone, vanished into thin air. Flight 914 was there one moment, and the next it was as if it had never existed. In the blink of an eye, Pan Am Flight 914, with its 57 passengers and 6 crew members, seemingly vanished into thin air. The air traffic control room was a symphony of confusion, a cacophony of disbelief. The radar screen, once pulsating with the flight signal, now stared back blankly. The radio, once crackling with the pilot's voice, now echoed only silence. In the moments that followed the disappearance, the controllers scrambled to make sense of what had just happened. Had there been a technical glitch? Was there an error with the radar? Or had Flight 914 truly vanished? The first course of action was to try and establish contact with the aircraft. Calls were made, messages were sent, but to no avail. The skies remained silent. A distress signal, a sign of trouble, would have been a beacon of hope in this bewildering situation, but no such signal came. The absence of a distress signal was perplexing, but what was even more confounding was the lack of wreckage. Typically, in the event of a crash, there would be some debris, some indication of a catastrophe. But in the case of Flight 914, the ocean surface remained undisturbed, the landscape untouched. Search efforts began almost immediately. Aircraft were dispatched, ships were deployed, all in a desperate bid to find any trace of the missing flight. But days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, with no signs of Flight 914. The world was left to grapple with an unsettling reality. A plane, along with its 63 souls on board, had disappeared without a trace. Despite the best efforts of search teams, despite the advanced technology at their disposal, Flight 914 had simply vanished. And so, the mystery deepened. An airplane, a marvel of human engineering, had defied logic and slipped away from the grasp of understanding. But where? How? Despite all efforts, Flight 914 left no trace behind. Fast forward 37 years and the impossible happened. Picture this. It's 1992, a normal day at Miami Air Traffic Control. Then, out of nowhere, a blip appears on the radar. An unidentified plane making its way into their airspace. What could it possibly be? The plane identifies itself as Pan Am Flight 914, the same flight that had disappeared without a trace all those years ago. As you can imagine, the air traffic controllers were flabbergasted. Their disbelief was palpable. Could it really be the same flight? How was this even possible? But the voice from the cockpit was insistent, requesting permission to land. The pilot seemed just as confused as the air traffic controllers. He was under the impression that he was still in 1955, just a few moments after their initial takeoff. He claimed they had only experienced a few moments of turbulence. The idea of having traveled through time was as alien to him as it was to the controllers on the ground. The confusion grew when the plane finally landed. The passengers and crew were in a state of shock. Their watches still read the date and time of their departure in 1955. They looked untouched by time, not a day older than when they had first boarded the plane. The aircraft itself was in pristine condition, showing no signs of wear or damage. It was as if they had been plucked out of 1955 and dropped into 1992. Yet, the reality was undeniable. They were here, in 1992, 37 years after their disappearance. How did it happen? Where had they been all this time? These were the questions that swirled around as the world tried to make sense of this baffling situation. In a blink, the plane that wasn't there was there again. Just like that, the mystery of Pan Am Flight 914 deepened, becoming an even more perplexing enigma that continues to confound us to this day. The return of Flight 914 spurred a wave of theories and speculations. As the story of this flight spread, so did various interpretations of what might have happened. The most popular among them is the theory of a time warp. Advocates of this theory suggest that the plane might have slipped through some sort of temporal distortion or a wormhole, causing it to jump forward in time. This theory, while fascinating, lacks any concrete scientific evidence and remains purely speculative. There's also the theory of alien abduction. Some believe that extraterrestrial beings may have intercepted the plane mid-flight, held it for a span of 37 years in their own time frame, and then released it back into ours. Again, while this theory is intriguing, it is based more on fantasy than on any real scientific evidence. The government conspiracy theory also found its way into the mix. It proposes that the flight was part of a top-secret government experiment involving time travel or teleportation. The plane's sudden disappearance and reappearance years later was allegedly a test gone wrong. But like the other theories, this one too lacks any tangible proof. Then there are those who believe that the event was a carefully orchestrated hoax. They argue that the flight never disappeared in the first place, and that all the passengers and crew were actors playing a part in a grand deception. But with no compelling evidence to back this claim, it remains as improbable as the rest. The lack of concrete evidence supporting any of these theories only deepens the enigma of Flight 914. Each theory, as fascinating as it may be, fails to provide a definitive explanation for the flight's mysterious disappearance and reappearance. In the end, the truth about Flight 914 remains shrouded in mystery. Today, the tale of Pan Am Flight 914 is more than just a story. It's an enduring enigma that continues to captivate us, permeating various facets of pop culture. From books and movies to online forums, the mysterious flight has sparked our imagination and fueled our fascination with the unexplained. This tale has also ignited ongoing debates about time travel and other unexplained phenomena. Some argue that Flight 914's odd journey is a glitch in the Matrix, a ripple in the fabric of time. Others believe it to be a manifestation of the Bermuda Triangle's reputed mysterious powers. And then, there are those who see it as an elaborate hoax, a story concocted for intrigue and entertainment. Whatever the case may be, the curious case of Pan Am Flight 914 continues to intrigue us, prompting us to question the boundaries of our understanding. It pushes us to explore the unknown, to question the accepted, and to seek answers beyond the apparent. As we continue to seek answers, the curious case of Pan Am Flight 914 serves as a reminder of the many mysteries that our world holds.